rare resolution has been passed in the United States Senate with a signal of unequivocal support to India that reaffirms that the state of Arunachal Pradesh is an integral part of India. It supports India's sovereignty and territorial integrity and also condemns China for the use of military force to change the status quo at the line of actual control and its other provocations. It also lauds the government of India for the steps that it has taken to defend itself against the aggression and security threats from China. We're crossing over to CNN News 18's Foreign Affairs correspondent Abhishek Jha. Abhishek, over to you.
So we know, Asha, that in the past also USA has expressed sort of, both sides of the political system. USA have expressed the support and solidarity for India and its, the support for India's concern at the northern border in Ladakh in the wake of this Galwan clash and which has subsequently led to this massive standoff of military personnel on the both sides. In fact, in the past also, USA State spokesperson Ned Price has always maintained that they believe in rules-based order and any such aggression that violates territorial integrity and sovereignty of any country should be condemned. And the latest that we are hearing from USA, where the bipartisan support has been expressed for India amidst this tension that is ongoing with China on LAC, along LAC, is something that can help India voice its concern and garner more support diplomatically at the global stage.
All right. Now, Abhishek, considering that this rare resolution has been introduced in the U.S. Senate, how long do you think it's going to take for it to be passed? Are there going to be any obstacles for this? And could you also tell us more about how this bodes for ties between not just the United States and India, but the United States and China?
So we know, talking about United States and China, they are having a very, the bad period of diplomatic ties, if you can say, because in the last 5 or 6 years, there has been, economical confrontation between the two countries, which has now led to the diplomatical spiraling down of their relationship as well. We recently saw how those airships that were afloat over USA airspace led to the cancellation or postponement of USA State Secretary Blinken and Janet Yellen's trip to China. While the two countries still engage at various levels, and they have said that they will continue to maintain the communication line and regularly, the crisis has hit a new low where these secretary level talks have been cancelled for now. Talking about India and USA, we have seen in the past also USA expressing its solidarity both diplomatically, strategically. We know that India and USA have been engaged in the format of Quad, which specifically caters to the challenges and concerns that countries like USA, China, Japan, and Australia have in Indo-Pacific. That is an area where China has been trying to place its dominance in terms of military might and economical, clout as well, because that is an area where almost 50 to 60% of trade happens. That area of Indo-Pacific is also rich in marine, products. So to have that area under very much rules-based order is something that India and USA, Japan, Australia have been saying for a very long time, and such resolutions that the speakers have brought in US Congress will certainly give a more strong support to India's concern and India's voice when it comes to having, countering China at world stage in terms of the strategic interests of India and its allies, and also economic interests.
Absolutely. Abhishek, please stay with us. We're also being joined by Mr. Patrikrith Payne, who's a security analyst. Mr. Payne, thank you so much for speaking to CNN News 18. The breaking development is about how U.S. lawmakers have introduced a bipartisan bill reaffirming Arunachal Pradesh as an integral part of India. Could you tell us about your take on this, please?
Well, I think it's a welcome step, and I think this renewed support for India is also coming because of the recent incident of the balloon affair, which has actually deteriorated the relation between United States and China even more. And I think the Americans now realize more than ever before the kind of aggression, the kind of threat that China poses to many countries, including India. And as I stated, this renewed realization is primarily because of the recent threats of espionage that United States is facing from China. And I think also one reason for this is because of the realization that United States is also having that, even though India might be still relatively a smaller economy than China, but eventually if there is one country in the whole of Asia which can actually eventually create a market which is competitive and comparable to China in the long run, then it is India. We all know what happened in the recent past where a massive order from Air India was given to Boeing Corporation. So I think economic imperatives, security imperatives, and of course the issue of the shared values of democracy are playing a critical role. But I think it's important for United States to stay consistent with this principle of respecting the territorial sovereignty of India. It cannot be that they say something when it comes to the issue of China, but on the other hand, when it comes to Pakistan, they take a different line. I think it's a welcome step, but we have to see how it evolves and where it goes. But yes, China is eventually becoming a major threat, not just for India, not just for United States, but for many other countries who may not have the wherewithal to actually counter China. And United States realizes that if there is one country which can stand up to China in Asia, then it is India and no one else. And so they have very little option other than to support India and its territorial integrity.
Now, jumping off of what you were saying about how this is going to evolve, can you also tell us what you think about how China is going to be responding to this development?
Well, I think the Chinese response for all these things have always been, the same. They would ask United States not to interfere in the bilateral issue between China and India. But frankly speaking, what China says is something that everyone knows, and so it doesn't have much of a bearing. China has never, respected the principles of territorial sovereignty of other countries. China doesn't actually accept and abide by decisions which are taken by multilateral institutions or United Nations. So China's response is something that we all know. I think India has for a long time actually maintained a very nuanced step when it comes to dealing with China, but it has not been reciprocated by China in terms of in terms of respecting India's territorial sovereignty. We know the way the Chinese espionage happens. We know the manner in which China has actually supported Pakistan in doing all kind of nefarious activities against India. So I think China's response is a given, but it doesn't going to impact anything so far as Indo-US relationship is concerned.
All right, Mr. Pathakrit Payne, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us your perspective on this. I'd also like to thank our Foreign Affairs correspondent for giving us those details on this story.